Hey guys, so it's been a while. Ooh, my hair's not great, but that's okay. Saturday. You don't need good hair on Saturday. So I'm here doing something I haven't done in a really long time, which is a haul. So a lot of these were gifted to me because it was my birthday last Monday, and I'm so grateful to my friends um, who bought me all this stuff because booking, I'm gonna call it, in Texas for your classroom is difficult. um, Thanks to House Bill 900, we have to enter every single book that we get in our classroom is in our classroom library. We have to put it into a spreadsheet and send it to the government. And some of them are going to get marked and taken out of the classroom. Um, for all the ones I have right now, I kind of feel like the only one that might get marked is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Um, Maybe Lord of the Flies, but other than that, I'm not that worried. It's just the work is tedious and unfair, and something that would solve this would be a standardized rating systems for a book, but that's for another day. Roll the intro. So this video, I'm just going to show you the books, and then I'll probably do like a little chat about why I haven't been on YouTube that much. I do have a stream starting in, or I do have a stream planned for Halloween, which is going to be Ken Follett themed. And speaking of Ken Follett, Circle of Days, his new book about Stonehenge. A review of that is coming. I'm not quite done because I've been working so hard at work with running debate and drama. So let's get into the haul. So I've got a collection here of middle grade horror, which is one of my favorite genres. And so this is an 8-book collection from my favorite horror author, Mary Downing Hahn. And I have already read a lot of these, but they're really more for my students. So this comes with All the Lovely Bad Ones, Closed for the Season, which I already had a copy of this in my classroom, but some of these I do need multiple copies of because a lot of the children like to read the same books. Deep and Dark and Dangerous, so those first 3 I have not read. The Doll in the Garden, which is really old, it's from like 1989. That one I have read. It was okay, definitely not her best, but it was an early one. The Ghost of Crutchfield Hall, another one that's not really her best, and that one's not early. It's from 2010. The Old Willis Place took, which I am reading right now, to my reading lab class, which is just kids who failed the STAR. So we're reading that one together, and then Wait Till Helen Comes, which is definitely her most favorite, or her most famous, and also her most overrated. So speaking of spooky, I don't actually think this is a spooky book, but this is The Witch of Blackbird Pond. It's a Newbery winner. It's a classic. Kids love it. I don't remember it. Pretty sure I have read it though. And speaking of classics that kids love, uh, Where the Red Fern Grows, I got 2 copies of this. I do actually have a class set in my classroom, but they're really gross and dusty, so I'm just not using them. And this is definitely a book I would not read to my class. I know this is kind of like an out there opinion and no one agrees. I really don't like this book because I see a lot of animal cruelty and it bothers me. And also the virtuous portrayal of poverty bothers me. Children are not going to pick up on this, but I don't really want to read something to my class that's going to make me cringe. So when he's like first trapping animals, Billy, the main character, his family's cat keeps getting caught in a trap and like getting hurt, and they think it's funny. When he's hunting, he beats the raccoons to death instead of shooting them. And yeah, he's a kid, so he probably shouldn't have a gun. But take a friggin' bow and arrow. Do something other than beating them to death. And then the dogs are always like beat up and bleeding. I don't like that. But students love it, especially the boys. So it's going in the classroom. So I'll take the ones I've already shown you and put them to this side. This could make a mess. A Monster Calls. This book was one of the best books I read in 2020. Beautiful illustration. Of course, I opened to an empty page that does not have an illustration. Let's find an illustration. And I love the magical realism elements. And it made me cry because it's really, really sad. and it won some awards, but it did not win a Newbery. Okay. All right, this one's for me. I've been working through it. It's the Quran. So, yep. I don't know why that ended up in the pile because that is not a new acquisition. I've had that for a while. And I just took a trip to Half Price Books not that long ago, looking mostly for me, but some for my students. So this is the Black Death. It's an old vintage copy. Pretty cool. I mean, everybody knows what the Black Death is, but I love reading about it, so I'm going to read this one. And I like vintage books. And then this is, let's see, Western, I've still got the Half Price sticker covering up. Western Society and the Church in the Middle Ages, Volume 2. So maybe I'll track down Volume 1, but this is going to help me out with something I'm reading or something I'm writing, and come on, I love the Middle Ages. Speaking of, all these books in this, so like these next two books are all Middle Ages nonfiction. This one will go in my classroom because I do have a student who really, really loves maps. He has autism, and maps are kind of like his thing. So this is just a penguin map or a penguin atlas of medieval history. Very cool. And of course, it's all Europe, basically, because that's where the Middle Ages took place. Okay. A History of Private Life, Revelations of the Medieval World, Volume 2. Maybe I'll get lucky and track down Volume 1. Let's see. Very chunky. It's going to take me a while to read if I even read all of it. Speaking of chunk, one of these big coffee table books, A History of the Middle Ages, some cool pictures. I mean, you can never have too many History of the Middle Ages books. All right, back to the classroom. Dog Man. I did read this one. I mean, this is at best first grade level. So my students do have an independent reading project every 6 weeks because we do 6 weeks instead of quarters. And this is really cool. It has some like flip book art in it, but it's just too far below reading level, or too far below grade level, so I do not allow them to read this or Diary of a Wimpy Kid for their reading projects. And just some basic middle grade books, The Tiger Rising by Kate DiCamillo and Holes. So this one is actually in we have an online program, and so the Miracle Worker was in it, so we read the Miracle Worker and used like the resources in there. And Holes and Percy Jackson are in this one. And we might do Holes. Some of my students have already read it, but this one, again, is another one that upsets me because it deals with the troubled teen industry, and while it seems really farcical and just like funny, it's not that far off. This stuff still happens, so we'll see, but I don't know. In the spring, we're going to read How to Train Your Dragon, and we probably are also going to read Fever 1793, but yeah. So this one is young adult, so the young adult books stay behind my desk and they need a permission slip to check them out because my students are 11 and 12, so young adult is more PG-13, and some of it even gets into R-rated material. But this one, I don't know how bad this one is as far as that kind of material, but I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. I still need to read it. Salt of the Sea was one of the last books to make me cry. It took me 3 years to cry from a book after I read Salt of the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. So I Must Betray You, going behind my desk, I'll read it eventually. The Book Thief, a classic. This is in our book room at school, but the copies are beat up, so I just got a good one. Another copy of Where the Red Fern Grows. And then this is one I printed out for my last vlog. I'm gonna print out a class set of Wizard of Oz. Alright, these books were all gifted, and to be honest, haven't really gone through them because there's so many. So we'll see what I have. So this is the last box. Matilda by Roald Dahl. Classic I haven't read. Students will love it if they find it. Turning 15 on the road to freedom. So this is my story of the 1965 Selma Voting Rights March. So these are definitely things, and you can see it's definitely on reading level. These are things my students need to learn about because I recently found out one of my best students didn't even know what separation of church and state was. So that's a little upsetting. But we got The Wild Robot, which I need to read. When Robot Roz opens her eyes for the first time, she discovers that she is alone in a remote, wild island. So yeah, this is giving me the one and only Ivan vibes. Oh, another copy of Holes. Can't have too many. So there we go. The crossover. So this was on the book list of books I needed my kids to read for the first 6 weeks, so they could have read a Newbery Award winner within the last 20 years. This one won in, I think, 2015, so this was a popular one. And it's written in verse, and it's pretty good. I read this one this year, so yeah, I like it. It's obviously about basketball. And Otter, book and verse below our reading level. I think this is written for like 7 to 10-year-olds, but I did have a student who really liked Alone, and so I put this on my list, my Amazon wish list, which will be linked down below, thinking of her. So I will read this. Yeah, I just know it's below our reading level. Another one below our reading level, but I love these books. Charlotte Spies for Justice. Hard to read it when it's backwards. So a Civil War survival story. So these are part of what's called the Girls Survive series. Yeah, Girls Survive. So I've read the one about the Titanic. I've read the one about the Trail of Tears. I read the one about the big fire. Oh, Lucy Fights the Flames. Yeah. So the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. Trying to remember if I've read more. But this is kind of like I Survived, but for girls. And even my girls love the I Survived books because they're really great. And this is Roses and Radicals, the epic story of how American women won the right to vote. Yeah, this looks a little above reading level, but is it on here? Sometimes on the back it'll give a reading level 10 and up. So some of them should be okay. All right, second to last book, Down Syndrome Out Loud. I teach in a very small district, so we actually have to bus our Down syndrome and like severely autistic kids over to a different a different district because we don't have room for them. Pretty upsetting. But the last one, and probably the one I was happiest to receive, is the graphic version of To Kill a Mockingbird. This will go behind my desk because I know it's about a man falsely accused of rape, but I haven't read it, and I don't really want to read it because I already know the story so well. So I will read this and then pretend that I've read To Kill a Mockingbird. So this is going to be a nightmare because I got to label all of them and put them all in a spreadsheet and then find like places to put them in my desk. I have to label them. So this is like a Newbery winner. So I would put it in the Newbery winner tub. So I would put a sticker on it and the number of the tub it goes into. That doesn't take that long. The spreadsheet does. I have to put the title, the author, and the ISBN, and the reading level, which is not fun. It's not fun, but it's the law. So that's the haul. And now I'm going to get into where I've kind of been on BookTube. So we're changing tones. I used to update and give it a video out like every 3 or 4 days. Now it's been like every 3 or 4 weeks. And there are many, many reasons for that. The best reason, so like the happy reason, would be that I have kind of moved away from BookTube because I don't mentally need it that much anymore. I love where I work. Teaching doesn't have to suck. And this has been a huge revelation to me because the other 2 schools I've worked at just destroyed not only my mental health, but my physical health. I have chronic physical illness, and it annihilated me. So teaching 9th graders and, well, I've worked with all grade levels, but essentially I've always had 9th graders and seniors for the most part in my classroom. And I was so nervous to switch to what we call intermediate school. A lot of places call it middle school, so 6th grade. I did have to get a new certification for it, so that was another reason the summer was a little bit small. I was studying for the 4 through 8 English and social studies test, which I passed on the first try. I nailed it because I know so much about social studies. Thank you, Crusader Kings. Crusader Kings 3 was the only reason I got one of those questions right, but tangent. So, yeah, that was good. And I moved. I'm saving up for a house, so I'm back with my parents while they're having to have surgeries, and they're just getting older. So my autistic brother, who's almost 30, is just getting really hard for them to care for. So I'm here in the meantime, and it'll be probably a year and a half before I can actually get my own house. And so that's been going on. As you guys know, I've also been dealing with what I'm going to call a cancer watch. Because I can't really say I'm cancer free because we don't know. Um, I found a lump in my right breast, and I went and I got an ultrasound and mammogram, and it was inconclusive but fairly encouraging. We weren't sure, like there was a lot of trauma to just through here because of the seatbelt and the car wreck I got into last year, and so we're kind of waiting to see if some of the many spots that showed up on the ultrasound grow, and if they do, I have cancer. If they don't, then they're benign, and I will get that result in December. So I've been focusing on my health. I have gained some weight back, but my blood pressure was starting to get a little bit up there, and that just runs in my family. And obviously, I'm overweight, so that affects it. But I've gotten stable into no longer hypertension every time I go to the doctor, so that's been good. I did get walking pneumonia again. So we're trying to figure out, I do have a deviated septum in my nose. So we may get that fixed. That deviated septum can cause sinus infections, which become pneumonia. If you like, I don't know, neglect them, which I have a big problem with just not going to the doctor when I don't feel well because it's expensive. So, um, yeah, there's that. And also because I had not posted as many videos, my watch hours went below like 4,000, 3,000, 4,000 is what they need. And so I am no longer monetized. So I'm not making money off the videos. And if I'm being quite honest, BookTube really let me down earlier this year when, the whole thing happened with one of our fellow booktubers and everyone, like, no one was listening to me. My so-called friends were just like not listening when I was telling them about the situation. Like, okay, there's no reason being like about this. It was the Daniel Green situation, and I was telling everybody he didn't do it, and I was giving them like all the reason why I thought so, and none of my friends believed me, or the people who led me to believe they were my friends. None of them believed me, and it turns out I was right, and I noticed that this had been a pattern in this community for a long time. Like, I had been saying things like, certain booktubers judge self-published books differently, and they would deny it and people would believe them, even though I provided tons of video evidence. And I'm like, no, they do. And a lot of people just, there was that. There's a certain booktuber I think has really low integrity, which she proved during the whole DG thing. She condemned him and then erased it and then didn't apologize. And I recently discovered that any kind of like critical comments of hers, because one of my friends left a comment like on her channel and I couldn't remember what he said, so we went looking for it and it was gone. And all the comments were positive. So she censors her page, and I have never interacted with this person. I don't watch them, but because of who they are married to, well, we got interrupted, but where was I? But because of who they married, I knew they were a bad person. And they've proved it. And there were a few other things that have happened, and I just noticed that every time I tried to like state my opinion, nobody believed me. And they're like, "No, we're your friends. We love you." And it's like, "Okay, if you love me, then why don't you take me seriously?" So I've distanced myself from a few people, and I've become friends with my coworkers, which is not something that normally happens in the school setting. Um, like a lot of times I have like one or two friends at the school I've worked at, and now they're like basically all my friends. So that's another reason why I've been incognito. And another reason is because I have several booktube projects going on that are going to be big projects. Um, I will keep those hidden for now because I want you to be surprised when I release it. But I've been working pretty hard on those bigger, longer, like maybe over 2-hour videos that I can't even say when they're going to come out because I have no idea. And one of them I've been working on since July. So yeah, so that's it for me. Keep reading, keep writing, keep loving words. And for those of you that have still been watching my videos, thanks for sticking with me. Bye.